You know what is a tough job in this world? One of the tough jobs in this world is to be the moderator of the last panel. Because I am the last man standing between all of you and a sumptuous lunch which is getting served outside in the next 30 minutes, all right? And you know a tougher job than that? Being on that panel, actually, yeah? So may I have a round of applause for the panel members who are sitting about here? And I promise you, all those grumbling stomachs and all those guys who are getting tired, that next 30 minutes, we will have a trailblazing storytelling by some of these thought leaders in the market who have actually made Emiratisation a success in their organization. I don't need to introduce them because I think you know Marji, she's the CHR for Fardan. I have Ilyas, who's the CEO from Hydropower. We have Badr, who's from TAQA. He has so many stories to tell, I have to stop him at the coffee machine. I said, we will have some storytelling inside. And we have Hana. Hana, thank you for coming over. Now, I will break this session into 4 parts for all of you. When we talk about success, I will break this into 4 sections. One, we will talk about strategy a little bit. We will talk about the recruitment side and acquiring talent. The third section, the talent management within your organization. And fourth, talent retention. I request all of you to contribute, add to each other's question wherever you have a view. It is for the audience to know that how you have made is a success within your organization. So to open the forum, Badr, to you, how is TAQA's transition goals, aligned with the Emirati talent and the net zero 2050 strategy of this nation?
Well, assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for hosting me today. For those who left for the refreshment, they will miss a lot, I would say, with my colleagues here. I think this is a very good question on how we link our strategies with the net zero or the national agendas. As you are aware, the utility sector goes under a massive transformation. That's mainly driven by the national agenda like the net zero, the energy transition, and the technological advancement, as you know. And in order to achieve this, we need to focus our strategies on building an Emirati's talent pool that is able to drive the change. It's not about only hiring people. I think it's easy for us in human resources to hire people. The target here is to hire that pool of Emiratis who are skilled and then diverse, as well as ready to lead the change. At TAQA transition, we understood this earlier, and therefore we started first with revising our strategy, where we, in our strategy, embedded that Emiratisation, be it starting from the recruitment, where we have dedicated number of roles that is for Emiratis at different levels, means young and also the up to the leadership, as well as developing those talents once they join, retain, upskill. In the past years, we were struggling to make up the numbers of Emiratis. And this is maybe because of the niche of the business that we're doing. Yet, in the past 2 years, I need to look at my card here just to give you a right numbers. We moved from having 50% of Emiratis to 55 in 2024. It wasn't easy really to drive. You may see it's just 5%, but that's per percent. If we translate it to a number, that's a huge number of Emiratis joined the organization from different groups, different level. And then when we hire, not only hiring, but then also how we can keep these guys, and that part of the strategy where we develop different programs. I know KPMG, Mohammed says Intlaq, a word called Itlaq. And that's in 2 different levels. One is for the graduates, and also the other one is for technicians. So the idea was we acquire the right talents, then we develop and retain. That was part of our strategy.
So hold the thought there, Badr. Ilyas, I come to you. Hydropower infrastructure projects, right? How are you aligning your Emirati talent with these national projects that are happening?
Well, for us, it's a bit more challenging than from Badr's perspective. We're just to give you a bit of background on Hydropower. we're an engineering construction company, mainly in energy, utilities, and infrastructure. So we have 3,000 employees, of which I would say 80% are blue-collar workers. So we have 20% sort of professional staff, if you like. And out of this, we would have to try and hunt the best Emirati talent we can get. Obviously, competing as a private sector entity, competing with the public sector is obviously one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah.
Competing with our own client like TAQA, obviously, which are trying to pull from the same pool that we're trying to pull out from as well. So these are the challenges that we face. Now, to break it a bit more, so we have probably around 600 professionals in the company, of which the split there is, again, there's 70%, I would say, technical orientated, and
right.
more 25 to 30% are sort of administrative orientation. So what we're seeing is that the majority of the Emiratis that we're managing to attract are more on the administrative side of the business, which is good and well, but we have a much bigger field to fill on the technical side, and that's really where we're struggling a bit to
So right now your focus is most on the administrative side of the roles with the UAE nationals, and you are trying to build up the...
It's not a focus, it's where we're managing, to get the talent. And going back on some of the sessions earlier today, although we do have quotas, we don't work to quotas. We started hiring Emiratis well before programs like NAFAS came along, and it's always been my dream that one day I would have a project manager who would be an Emirati, and this is a dream that I'm hoping to achieve in the next 10 years.
Absolutely. When I first spoke to Margie about this panel, Margie said, I'm not coming on stage. So I said, Margie, you need to come on stage with me to do this. Today we'll take some secrets out. So Margie, help us understand in your strategy of acquiring UAE national talent, how does collaboration as a general works? Because we spoke about collaboration with universities and other areas, right? Give me a little bit of insight what FX is doing in that area of collaboration.
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me. Twisting my arm and getting me on this stage was a deal in itself. But again, if I just give you a little bit of background about Margie, I've been here for over 30 years. This is my home. I am a national. I really am. And I think I've got an added advantage there when it comes to being a CHRO. I've worked with Emirati families before in the region. I've worked across Saudi and Qatar and those places as well. So I do have a little bit of an edge, I say. Never mind my qualification, I've got the edge. I am a local. So when it comes to going into companies, looking at Emiratisation, I think the advantage I have is I don't look at that number, I don't look at that quota. Sure. So I look at how can I think outside the box. I'm in an industry at the moment which is, we have many, many blue-collar workers as well. We've got over 90 branches at Alfardan Exchange. So how can I get Emiratis to work in a branch? We're not a bank. Banking is quite exciting. Mm-hmm. We're not that exciting. Well, I wouldn't say that to my boss, but, this is how it comes across. So we have the back office, and then we have the retail. So it's really thinking outside the box how to do it. And when I went into Alfardan, which was around 10 months ago, I really thought about my previous experience. Go to the universities, go to these young Emiratis who are just incredible. They're really motivated to work and to find a job. And how do I get them excited about working at Alfardan Exchange? So it was going into the universities. We are in there now with HCT. Mm-hmm. We are across the whole of the Emirates, not just Dubai, not just Abu Dhabi. We go further afield into Fujairah, Al Ain, Ras Al Khaimah. We literally sit with young graduates, see what they are aspiring to be, and then kind of put programs together, how we can bring them from graduation into our business. So we're on site with them, we're educating them, we're upskilling them. We've even got simulation centers now where they can get on-the-job experience. Am I going to like going to work at Alfardan Exchange? So we've had to really think outside the box to get people to come to us. And it's worked really well. And it's not just the likes of the universities. We're with the academies, with the ADGM, DIFC, AI, innovation, young graduates. I mean, they know everything that I don't know for sure, about AI. So they're teaching me what programs would work, what would excite them to come and join us.
So you are creating an ecosystem through those simulations for people to understand your work and the ecosystem better, as an organization.
Yeah.
Hannah, I come to you. Share some partnership strategies that you are following. Serco is a huge public services organization, right? They're huge. Their volumes are quite high. What are the talent acquisition strategies that Serco is actively pursuing to get UAE national talent within the organization?
Thank you very much for having us. Really interesting conversations today that we can all take back and process and use, actually. I think I'd like to summarize maybe in 3 main points. To start with, having partnership-led recruitment is really important. Benefiting from the programs that were mentioned today, like the likes of NAFIS, programs with Muhri, programs with organizations like Mawahib in Abu Dhabi, Azam, even private organizations that tap into inclusive employment, like for those 4 people of determination, like the Butterfly, like I'm Inclusive, for example. We focus a lot on these partnerships and understanding the different programs and how we can benefit from them and how we can shift and plug and play these different programs across, the different Emirates and the contracts that we have. Then we also participate in job fairs. We go to universities. Zayed University was a recent job fair. HCT as well, that was mentioned earlier. And even high schools. We had an initiative with Muhri that focused on high school graduates and getting that early career kind of program. And then I think one of the most important points is to align with our partners and our clients on our agenda and our goals. Because at the end of the day, for us, it's not a tick box exercise. It's to ensure we create meaningful and impactful jobs. And that requires alignment from all parties. And that means working towards a vision where we have objectives, we have milestones, we progress and measure our progress and have set metrics around that. So I think that makes it sustainable and it keeps it creative as well, looking at different jobs, different sectors and different industries.
So although I didn't intend to ask this question, but it's interesting. What did you mean by that butterfly word? What is that partnership that you guys are doing? If you can just give us a brief.
Absolutely. It's a private organization that works with the UN. It also works with many government and semi-government entities. We're members of the Butterfly, and we've actually we have received an award of being an inclusive employer. They focus on people of determination and talent that isn't always prioritized for all organizations. And we know that people of determination have a big agenda in terms of the 2030 vision. So it helps us get into those talent pools that sometimes are not at the biggest piles in terms of recruitment. And that really helps us prioritize our inclusiveness agenda.
I think that's a great insight for all of you. I think that's a great way to get the inclusivity in the organization. Thanks for just getting deeper into that. Ilyas, I come back to you with a question. How do you see, and you are in a very technical organization, in an industry-wise, right? How do you see leadership, women leadership, especially in Emirati talent pool? How are you building it, driving it? Where do you see challenges and where do you see opportunities, specifically in women leadership within the Emirati talent pool?
I think there's been a lot of discussion about retaining the talent, and I think this is the challenge that we all have today. I think this word is going to resonate throughout it resonated throughout the whole day and throughout this whole event. We've tried our best to, as a private entity and as a local company, we do not have the multinational programs that other people have that they can just, dive into and get and implement. So we've had to develop our own personal development programs in order to try and get a lot of this talent to understand how important it is that they develop into certain roles. It's also important that, you have to move people around until they find, they find their own feet of what they're comfortable with. So we had recently an employee who's been with us for about 18 months, and HR had just totally given up on her because they put her in about 4 different or 5 different roles, and the output was just not there at all. So finally, she moved into accounts, and they said, this is the last, we've tried our best with this person, and there's, nothing's going to happen. And suddenly, she picked herself up, and now she's a rising star in that department. And that's an example of how you really need to, you attract the talent, but you really need to find the right placement for them as well. And within the company, it's a two-way street. The company, there's always this impression that the locals are coming on board because we have to bring them on. And that's not really the mentality that I try to, I don't want that to cascade down as an idea, because it's not true. And also at the same time, the local staff that come on board, they have to understand that there's no special treatment here. You're an employee in this company, and it's a level playing field for everybody. And that's also, that's important that you set that tone. So that two-way street actually works. But we have a champion here. She's sitting with us today. She's, a very important part of our health and safety department.
And what's the story? You just told me the story.
Well, I mean, she came on board, and everybody was skeptical. Health and safety is in, you go to a work site. So you're doing a project for TAQA transmission, and these guys really, they really, it's a handbook, and the handbook, it's word for word.
I'll put both of you together for a lunch. I think there's a conversation pending sometime between both of you.
So, I mean, the health and safety, so he can, the health and safety personnel can stop the project, if they see that something is not there. And sometimes, even the male experienced people find it difficult to talk to project managers. And so we've had a young Emirati lady who came on board, very fresh, did her training, went on the site, and now she's a leader in her field, and we're very proud to have her.
Is she here?
Yes, she's here. She's
Can I have a round of applause for her, please? Can you stand up, please, for us?
Please stand up. Stand up.
We're looking for you to stand up. A round of applause for her. She did make a difference in the organization, and she proves that it's doable. Thank you so much. Thank you for the story.
But if I can just echo what you were just saying, Ilyas, I can remember all those years ago being in school and thinking, what am I going to do when I leave school? And I resonate with what you're just saying, because we have the same challenges. Even though you're nuclear, we're not a shiny, sexy company to work for. We're not this bank I refer to. But what I have found myself that has worked immensely well across the back office, especially within Alfardan Exchange, is try and buy. A lot of these graduates, I'm sure many of you don't remember what you wanted to do when you leave school. I remember I did something else, and now I'm a senior HR person. It's been my profession. I love it. So what we've tend to find, and what has worked for us at Alfardan, is you come in, maybe you start off in marketing. You've just graduated. You've got a marketing degree. Let me try that. You know what? I hate marketing. And this is what happens. So let them try and buy it. Put it on that professional roadmap with what they've studied, if that's what they want, and then give them a buddy within that office who can help them, guide them. They've just left university. I mean, I'm scared stiff being on this stage today. So imagine going into a new place after uni. It's terrifying. So give them that buddy system. That's what's worked for us. Give them that marketing. You know what? The 3 months program in marketing didn't work. How's that assessment when they've come out? Okay, let's go and put you in legal. Do you like legal? And it's as you've just said, eventually they'll find where they're comfortable, where they want to be challenged, improve their skills, capabilities. And this is what I have found to work over my many years in different industries. I think that's the roadmap we should be looking at, not just...
And if I build on that, Margie, it is, what you said is intentful integration and opportunity, right? Yeah. So, Badr, I come to you. We were talking about it, right? The onboarding and the integration approach that TAQA takes, to create long-term careers for people in your organization. Help us understand that, right? Give us a little bit of insight into that journey.
Yeah, well, see, it's important to have a pool of talent that is ready to do the job today and also lead for the future. In 2018, I've been called by the CEO and he says, we need to revise our way of developing talents. What we need to do? You've been there in the sector for quite some time. For those who don't know, I'm an engineer, by the way, ending up in HR. I started my career as an engineer and then landed in human resources. And I was thinking on what we can do differently than everyone does and how we can bring that value to tackle that issue which we used to have of not having the pool of talents who's ready to lead them in the future. And the idea was for me simple. What we can equip them with today in order to be ready to drive tomorrow. And when I looked at it, and I looked at my journey, I was thinking, okay, these guys used to be in the school, they are kids, they just do their studies, that's what they know, but they don't know how it's really when they be in work. And then the idea was we develop a TAQA program, we call it. Atlaq, for those who doesn't know, in Arabic means lunch, when you launch a new thing. So Atlaq was for me a 3 stages program where we first take these guys from being in the schools and prepare them to be ready for the workplace by equip them with the soft skills, which we call them for 3 months, where we equip them with the basic needs of being an employee from being a student. And that was the initial step to prepare them. Now, when I reflected on that, I said, okay, after we prepare them, what we need to equip them with to be able to do the job? So the idea was of 1 year of on-job training where they will be assigned with a mentor, a buddy, as Maggie just mentioned, where they will acquire that technical skills required to be able to perform and deliver once they become a full-time job employees. But the idea was not just to have a buddy, but then also there were checks as we go to ensure that these guys are gaining what they need to gain, each in his fields, means if it's an engineer or whatever it is, in order to be prepared to lead in the future. And then this is when it ends up with them being assigned to a job. At the same time, they will be also assigned with the mentor and the coach who will be there with them. And we usually we choose those SMEs, each in his field, to make sure that these guys also have a reference point to go to learn and fill gaps if they're having gaps. This program, since it started, we hired 256 employees or graduates, international graduates. In the last cohort for the DEI thing, diversity, equity, and inclusion, half of the total population of 54 who joined the program are females. And this is very interesting for me. Being in the field, know how it goes. Back in days in 2005 or 6, when I was an engineer, I came to a room of engineers. It was a technical, it was DU actually. And it was filled with males, maybe 2 or 3 females on the side who are doing the comms. When I did one of the town halls and we called our employees, the technical team, I would say, it was like 45-55% of female proposition to males. And I was amazed. And I told them, guys, back in days, 10 years or 12 years back, in similar context, it was even not equivalent to 5%, or 5% is too ambitious, actually, 1%. And the DEI initiatives, all of us adapted, made us able to achieve the agenda that we say we're going to achieve back in days. And that's what makes it unique. We didn't stop there. We pushed the limit. We went out with Atlaq Technician Program to develop the pool of the technicians, which is, the lower level of our business, but also the most critical. These are the guys who are in the field, operates and maintain our equipment to ensure we deliver that sustainable power and water to the residential and commercial in Abu Dhabi and beyond.
So you created a journey, you trained them well, you kept them there. Hannah, question for you. You find talent, you onboard talent, right? You manage talent. Next big challenge is retaining talent, right? In industries like public services, retention is sometimes challenging, right? What are the different programs that you're building within your organization? For example, remote working, coaching, whatever it is, right? Give me a little bit of insight as your organization. How do you retain and keep Emirati talent engaged within your organization?
I think retention in the public sector is very challenging. It's very dynamic. It's interacting with citizens and residents all the time, and the standards are very high as well. To start with, we look at internal mobility and growth opportunities. It's really important that we have clear growth and career paths, allow people to also have cross-functional, cross-contract, basically rotations. And just to give some examples, looking at some stats just before I got here, we have in one of the well-known government organizations in Abu Dhabi, around 24% of the nationals on that contract last year had promotions or internal movements in a contract, and a critical contract in Sharjah. We had 41% of the roles actually being filled through rotations or promotions as well for nationals. And then also looking at how we can have mentorship-led programs. So our graduate program, which has won an award in the region because it's been replicated in more than one place, is a great example of having, fresh graduates that come into the business and then have clear objectives and then grow into managerial roles like management consultant roles, roles around experience design management. And then having that mentor that builds that confidence, that builds that trust and that sense of belonging, doing regular check-ins and checking the pulse on engagement. So we have engagement programs and engagement surveys where we check on the results and the population of nationals to ensure that we have a clear understanding of the strengths and what drives basically their engagement. For us, some of the highlights were around health, safety, and well-being, also around clarity on the role that they're doing, and listening to their views and understanding their feedback, and basically making sure that we continue to evolve as culture and as an organization. And then, of course, having critical and purpose-led roles. Speaking of critical roles earlier, we have the first air traffic control national female that basically qualified in Sharjah, which we're very proud of, and many other female success stories there. 52% of operational roles in air traffic control are nationals, and that's a very critical role. That's very important for the country, and just having that national pride and linking with a wider vision and making sure they understand their contribution. And then, of course, comes the policies and the frameworks. So flexible working, which we've heard earlier, hybrid and remote policies. We've also embedded part-time work, which has been a great hit with female nationals who want to balance home and career. And last but not least, all of this is tied up with that sense of belonging and creating a culture that is purpose-driven, and having your social impact initiatives, your DE&I initiatives that are totally embedded in the culture to achieve that.
Wow, that's a lot. As a round of applause, that's a lot of initiative to be taken. You did answer a future question of mine, which I wanted to check is, beyond the numbers, what are the other measures that you track? And Margie, I will come to you with that question as well, which talks about the success of your Emiratization. And I think you partially answered that question. But is there any other metric that you track which talks about the quality of your Emiratization process or project beyond just the numbers?
Absolutely. So basically looking at the promotions and career growth, how people have progressed and grown in the organization. I shared some stats earlier. Then qualifications and knowledge transfer, how many certifications have been acquired, especially in regulated environments like fire rescue services, where 32% are nationals. It's really important to have a license to get into that job, So air traffic control, we report quarterly on the progress and the validation and qualifications. And then you also have basically year on year what you have as an agenda in terms of your acquisition and retention. So year on year, of course, we get huge applications, like I'm sure many of the organizations here, but 12% of our hiring and above has been dedicated for nationals across different contracts on average. This can go up to 50% in some of the contracts, though they only have 2% of the exact applications. So that's, when you look at, your prioritization strategies, that's really important to basically focus on. And then also KPIs and metrics in terms of performance. So 47% of one of the very important guest experience contracts that we have in one of the main airports in the country focuses a lot on guest experience and making sure that, guests feel greeted when they come to the airport. And that's a demanding job, and it's shift-based.
Sure.
And, the airports move very, very quickly. So that's definitely a metric that we look into, and everyone loves an award. We got 2 awards last year from NAFIS. We've had Mohri awards for achieving platinum status, and we do our own awards. We call them Pulse Awards because it's about, impact awards, sorry. It's about creating an impact in the organization, and we've had several wins last year for success stories in nationalization, and this is a global award for Serco, so it's a really important thing for us.
Thanks, Hannah. Margie, briefly, if you would like to add that what other metric or KPIs that you track or any other parameter to see the success of your Emiratization program within the organization?
Again, just following up what Hannah said, we track a lot of those things as well. I can't really say there's anything that stands out to me, but one of the things that does stand out a little bit is the fact that we have to look at how many people have gone from just being role fills to capabilities. So we track those capabilities, as we say. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a KPI. I mean, but at the end of the day, we need to track it. Where's your capabilities? You started off here. Where are you now? Where you need to be? So we're planning for the future, really.
Sure. Ilyas, a question for you while we're on the retention discussion. Very difficult industry. Not from a perspective of every industry is difficult in its own sense, right? But it's also a very difficult industry to retain talent generally, right? What are the challenges you are facing retaining national talent within your industry? And what are the strategies you are taking to retain them?
I mean, the biggest problem we face is obviously you're competing with the big multinationals, especially now that all these programs, everybody's hunting in a pond, basically. And the pond is getting smaller as people are picking up more and more talent. But hopefully with the new graduates coming on board, with the programs that we're trying to implement, with the personal development programs we're trying to put in place, so we're trying to, as much as possible, try and keep the talent that we have, because we have invested a lot of money into the talent, the local talent. Retaining them, I mean, we've had people who've joined, especially on the technical side. It's extremely difficult. They join us for a few months and then suddenly they apply to ADNOC, and they immediately get a job. While 6 months before he couldn't get that job, but that 6 months has given him the platform and the basis. It's good and bad because we've set somebody on a career path, so
Sure.
We feel good that we've managed to do that. But we've lost that talent, so we have to look for another one to do that. We had another gentleman that joined us, then 8 months later went to the Civil Defense Department, for example. Obviously, he's experienced. So luckily now we send our applications to Civil Defense to him, so he gets them signed up quickly. So that's always an advantage we've had. But we're competing with mainly government or semi-government entities. We're competing with a lot of the multinationals. And being a local engineering construction company, obviously, it is what it is. But we have to keep trying to show the talent that we can put them into niche places much easier than the bigger organizations.
I will open the discussion a little larger, but Badr, there's a question for you, which I'm very eager to ask you, and I hope you can give me some insight. It says, it's a question for Ilyas also, is that having a level field of organization with nationals and expats, it's essential to foster a workplace harmony. Badr, I would take your insight first. How do you drive workplace harmony in a very diverse organization? And maybe I will come to the rest of the panel members as well.
See, for me, diversity and inclusion and equity is very, very touching subject for me, personally, I would say. And it's a very, very important topic. A recent McKinsey study showed that companies who are diverse in their workforce and ethical background perform better than those who are more homogeneous. And the word better here means both at capability level and also performance level. And in order to achieve that, you need to make sure that you have the policies, strategies to accommodate for everyone. Now, many times when I have discussions, people think DI is about women only being in workplace. That's one, true. But then also we have people of determination, different races, different also age groups, which is very important. At TAQA transmission today, you can't imagine 40 or 45% of our total population at age of 35 years and below. With a policy that is being established back in days, can you think of how this policy can retain those talents today in today's era compared to the policy that's been established back in days? That makes it easy for us. That makes it very difficult for us. And then we need to ensure that we come up with the policies, procedures that can cater for the needs of those individuals. Speaking of which, and the story that Elias just shared about, they prepare talent 6 months and then they leave. My niece spoke to me a few years back. She just graduated and she wants to be hired. And she says, my dad is looking for me for a governmental job. I says, don't. She says, I've been approached by PwC. Their pay is too low. I says, go for it, learn from there, and then you will see how the markets will poach you or try to get you in. My brother definitely was in different view to what I say. He says she make the triple or double of what she's earning today. I says, well, the future. She goes for PwC for the future. She did that 2 years, and part of the PwC's job, she was assigned to the tax authority to do the job of PwC. 2 years in a row, she was proposed to go for a graduate program, maybe with 12K. They got her as a specialist 2 years in a row. I think what you need to make sure is, especially at that private sector, which can't compete in terms of the pay, because our pay is a bit different, to show them the value in the future of staying, to show them what kind of additional skills that you can give them that they won't get in anywhere else. It's difficult, really, with our sector. We compete these guys. They work with us a lot. They are our partners, but we also take from them. Makes their lives difficult, but that's the market.
That was the purpose of getting both of you together on this stage today, by the way. So.
That's the market, and this is how it goes. But together, we try to bring the change, bring the sustainability to the UAE.
So I think Margie wanted to add something, and then Hannah will come to you on the workplace harmony side of it. Yeah.
I just think it's really important what Badr just said, and Ilyas, because even though you're nuclear or whatever you're doing, as an Alfardan exchange, I'm often like, oh my goodness, I'm a training ground for the banking sector. I literally have the same issues where we get people on board, we train them for a year or two, and then they leave and they go to the banks because they're higher salaries, as you say. It's more attractive, to do that. But again, then that's where you have to come back in, think outside the box. How am I going to retain this talent? Because after a year, 2 years of the investment, I want to keep them. So it really is just exploring the capabilities, the programs and everything else. That's what we've had to do, because otherwise my retention was going round and round. It was really bad, but yeah, I'm quite aligned with what you just said.
So thank you for that, because if you don't create the value, then that problem always exists, right? Whether it is public sector or private sector. Just in the interest of time, a quick question for all of you, and some quick responses. Which are the elements of this whole nationalization or Emiratization program that can be taken across the geography, which is the best practices? Anybody would like to contribute? Hannah, you? I'll start with you, and then we can quick round over there, and then we can maybe summarize.
Sure. Basically, one of the programs that we replicate across the region is the graduate program. Okay. So the graduate program has been very successful in attracting young talent. The same principles apply. Let it be UAE or Saudi Arabia. So, for example, the graduate we had recently in in UAE had a degree in sustainability, especially after all the sustainability initiatives here. In Saudi, we launched a space division. So the graduate actually went to Germany, to our space division there, and did an internal rotation in space. How cool is that? Then internship programs, again, dealing with the likes of Mohri, Nafis, the Butterfly as well. These HRDF in Saudi Arabia, where these internship programs and early career programs can just be replicated. And the partnership programs in general. there's a huge investment from the governments and a massive vision. So making sure that you partner with the right organizations. So as I've mentioned earlier, many different organizations that you can partner with. It's just choosing the right one and making sure you understand what's right for your business and what's right for the talent pool that you have.
Badr, which part of the nationalization program can be replicated in the other geographies?
Yeah, well, in addition to what just Hannah said here, I would
Anything
say,
you want to add?
some kind of structured career progression program. Talent mobility definitely is the key.
Sure.
Because at a certain time, you think it's just the money. It's not. It's also the expansion of the knowledge and the expertise, which matters for the people. So you make sure you make them in check by having a talent mobility program that they can gain also knowledge in different areas, be prepared for the future.
Thank you. Yes, anything other than that you would like to add?
I think the points are valid, and from our perspective, a tailor-made development program is very important.
Tailor-made development.
And that really helps the talent actually grow.
Aji?
Well, the same, I resonate with everyone. It's just the upskilling. Just keep the upskilling going. That's quite regional in itself. Yeah.
So we have questions coming up. We have many more things to discuss, but in the interest of time, thank you so very much. I really appreciate you spending the time with us. Thank you so very much. Hope it was insightful for all of you. In case you have any further questions, they are available for you. And I hope this was an interesting session for all of you to take something away. Thank you very much and have a great day ahead.